From the outdated battleships caught at Pearl Harbor to the massive Essex-class carriers that dominated the Pacific, this is a comprehensive overview of every U.S. warship used in World War II. Let's start with the time when an entire fleet burned at anchor. December 7, 1941. 8:15 in the morning, Pearl Harbor. Japanese torpedo bombers roared over Battleship Row while most American sailors were still eating breakfast. Within 2 hours, 18 warships were damaged or sunk, including 8 battleships, 188 aircraft destroyed, 2,403 servicemen died. The backbone of America's Pacific Fleet, 8 battleships, was on the bottom or burning. But here's what Japan didn't know. All 3 American aircraft carriers, the Enterprise and Lexington, were at sea that morning, and Saratoga was away from Pearl Harbor. The old battleships were gone, but the carriers that would win the war survived. On December 8th, Congress declared war. The U.S. Navy faced both Japan in the Pacific and Germany in the Atlantic. After Pearl Harbor, America had 15 battleships, 7 carriers, 18 heavy cruisers, 19 light cruisers, 171 destroyers, and 114 submarines. Within 4 years, this force would grow to become the largest and most powerful Navy in history. By war's end, the U.S. Navy operated over 6,700 vessels, including combat ships, auxiliaries, and landing crafts. Then, the old battleships that survived Pearl Harbor. USS Nevada, the ship that tried to escape. During the first wave, Nevada took a torpedo hit but was positioned at Battleship Row's end, giving it freedom to maneuver. When the second wave struck, Nevada attempted reaching open water, but it was struck by multiple bombs, forcing it to beach at the channel's head to avoid blocking the harbor entrance. Nevada was later refloated, modernized, and served through the war's end, bombarding Normandy beaches on D-Day and Iwo Jima in the Pacific. USS Pennsylvania, the flagship that survived. Pennsylvania was in dry dock during the attack, avoiding torpedo hits. Bombs set it ablaze, but damage was repairable. After modernization, Pennsylvania served throughout the Pacific Campaign, providing shore bombardment at numerous invasions. USS Tennessee and USS West Virginia trapped against Ford Island. Both were moored inboard of other battleships. West Virginia took multiple torpedo hits and sank in shallow water. Tennessee suffered bomb damage. Both were raised, completely reconstructed, and returned to service with modern anti-aircraft armament, new fire control, and extensively modernized machinery. They became floating fortresses during Pacific Island assaults. Let's talk about the USS California and USS Maryland. California sank in shallow water but was raised and rebuilt. Maryland, moored outboard, took relatively light damage and returned to service quickly. Both fought through the Pacific War, USS Arizona and USS Oklahoma, the ships that never came back. Arizona exploded when a bomb penetrated its forward magazine, killing 1,177 men instantly. It remains at Pearl Harbor as a memorial. Oklahoma capsized after multiple torpedo hits, trapping over 400 men inside. Though raised for salvage, it was never repaired and eventually sank while being towed to scrappers. Now, let's move to the new fast battleships that dominated late war. North Carolina class, America's first modern battleships. USS North Carolina and USS Washington were authorized in 1937 after the treaty system collapsed. They displaced about 35,000 tons standard, mounted 9 16-inch guns, and could reach 27 knots. Their arrival gave America fast battleships that could keep pace with carriers. Washington achieved fame by sinking the Japanese battleship Kirishima during the Second Naval Battle of Guadalcanal. South Dakota class, the compact powerhouses. 4 ships, South Dakota, Indiana, Massachusetts, and Alabama, packed heavy armament into smaller hulls. South Dakota served throughout the Pacific Campaign, including actions around Guadalcanal and the Philippine Sea. These ships featured improved armor schemes and modern fire control, but suffered from cramped conditions. Iowa class, the ultimate American battleships. 6 were authorized, 4 completed during the war. USS Iowa, New Jersey, Missouri, and Wisconsin represented the pinnacle of American battleship design. Displacing 57,000 tons fully loaded, Mounting 9 16-inch guns and capable of 33 knots, they could escort fast carriers while providing devastating gunfire support. Missouri hosted Japan's surrender ceremony in Tokyo Bay. If you're still here after witnessing Pearl Harbor's devastation, subscribe for more incredible naval history. Following is the carriers that changed everything. Lexington class, the converted battlecruisers. Lexington and Saratoga were laid down as battlecruisers, but converted to carriers under Washington Treaty limitations. At 33,000 tons, they were the largest carriers in the world when completed. Lexington was sunk at Coral Sea in May 1942. Saratoga survived the entire war despite being torpedoed twice and bombed once, earning 7 battle stars. Yorktown class, the pre-war workhorses. 3 ships, Yorktown, Enterprise, and Hornet, were built between 1934 and 1941. All 3 participated in crucial early Pacific battles. Yorktown sank at Midway after absorbing devastating damage, but buying time for American dive bombers to destroy 4 Japanese carriers. Enterprise became the most decorated ship in U.S. Navy history, earning 20 battle stars and surviving the entire war. Hornet launched the Doolittle raid on Tokyo and was sunk at Santa Cruz. Essex class, the carriers that won the war. 24 were ordered, with 17 commissioned during the wartime. These 33,000-ton carriers operated up to 100 aircraft each. They formed the core of fast carrier task forces that swept across the Pacific. Essex-class carriers participated in every major operation from Tarawa through Okinawa. Names like Essex, Intrepid, Lexington II, Bunker Hill, and Franklin became legendary. Their combination of speed, protection, and striking power made them the most successful carrier class ever built. Independence class, the light carrier conversion. 9 Cleveland-class light cruiser hulls were converted to light carriers, displacing around 15,000 tons and operating 35 aircraft. They provided additional striking power where fleet carriers couldn't reach. Their speed let them keep pace with fast battleships and fleet carriers during offensive sweeps. Then, the escort carriers that hunted submarines. Casablanca class, mass production in action. 50 were built at Kaiser shipyards using assembly line techniques. These small 16,000-ton carriers operated 28 aircraft. Many were completed in remarkably short construction times, sometimes under a year. They escorted Atlantic convoys, hunted U-boats, provided air support for amphibious landings, and transported replacement aircraft. Gambier Bay was sunk during the Battle off Samar when escort carriers faced Japanese battleships, fighting desperately to protect the invasion fleet. Sangamon class, converted oilers. 4 fleet oilers were converted to escort carriers. Larger than most escort carriers, they proved highly effective. They supported North African landings, Guadalcanal operations, and later Pacific campaigns. Bogue class, the sub-hunters. 11 were transferred to Britain under Lend-Lease, while others hunted U-boats in the Atlantic. Their presence closed the mid-Atlantic air gap where U-boats previously operated with impunity. Moving on to the cruisers that provided firepower and flexibility. Heavy cruisers armed with 8-inch guns. Pensacola, Northampton, Portland, New Orleans, and Baltimore classes formed America's heavy cruiser force. These ships screened carriers, provided anti-aircraft defense, and conducted surface combat. USS Indianapolis delivered atomic bomb components to Tinian before being torpedoed by a Japanese submarine. Only 316 of 1,196 crew survived. Light cruisers, the versatile workhorses. Brooklyn and Cleveland classes mounted 12 to 15 6-inch guns. The Cleveland class became the most numerous American cruiser with 27 completed. They provided anti-aircraft coverage, shore bombardment, and surface combat capability. USS Helena sank at Kula Gulf after devastating Japanese forces with rapid fire. Atlanta-class anti-aircraft cruisers, early ships mounted up to 16 5-inch dual-purpose guns specifically for fleet air defense. They suffered heavy casualties. Atlanta and Juneau were both sunk during Guadalcanal fighting. The 5 Sullivan brothers died when Juneau sank, leading to the sole survivor policy. Let's talk about the destroyers that did everything. Fletcher class, the war winner. 175 were built, making them the most numerous American destroyer class. Displacing 2,500 tons and mounting 5 5-inch guns plus 10 torpedo tubes, Fletchers served in every role imaginable. They screened carriers, hunted submarines, bombarded beaches, rescued downed pilots, and fought surface actions. USS Johnston earned immortality at Samar when it charged a Japanese battleship force alone, buying time for escort carriers to escape. Benson and Gleaves classes, the pre-war standards. 96 were completed between 1940 and 1943. They provided the destroyer force's backbone during desperate early war years. Allen M. Sumner class, the improved Fletchers, 58 were completed, featuring twin 5-inch gun mounts instead of single mounts, providing increased firepower in the same hull length. Gearing class, arriving late. 98 were completed, but most entered service too late for combat. They incorporated war lessons and served through the 1970s. Then, the destroyer escorts that saved convoys. Evarts, Buckley, Cannon, Edsall, and Ruddero classes filled the desperate need for anti-submarine escorts. Over 500 were built using simplified construction methods. Displacing about 1,500 tons, they were slow but effective. They escorted Atlantic convoys, hunted U-boats, and protected Pacific invasion forces. USS England sank 6 Japanese submarines in 12 days, a record that stands today. Moving on to the submarines that strangled Japan. Gato class, the Pacific Submarine Force's backbone. 77 were built, displacing 1,500 tons. They carried 24 torpedoes and could dive to 300 feet. Gato boats conducted war patrols throughout the Pacific, sinking Japanese merchant shipping and warships. Balao class, improved deep divers. 122 were built with strengthened hulls allowing dives to 400 feet. They continued the campaign against Japanese shipping with devastating effect. Tench class, arriving as war ended. 31 were completed during wartime. They incorporated further improvements, but saw limited combat. American submarines destroyed 1,200 merchant ships, 124 tankers, and over 200 Japanese warships, including several escort carriers. The submarine service comprised only 1.6% of Navy personnel, but suffered the highest casualty rate of any branch. 52 submarines were lost with 3,500 men. Now to the amphibious fleet that stormed beaches. Landing ship tank LST, the backbone of amphibious assault, over 1,000 were built. These 328-foot ships could beach themselves, lower ramp doors, and drive tanks directly onto hostile shores. They transported vehicles, supplies, and troops to every Pacific Island invasion. Landing craft infantry LCI, troop carriers. Over 900 were built. They carried 200 troops directly to beaches under fire. Landing craft tank LCT, portable vehicle ferries. Over 1,000 were built to carry tanks and vehicles from transports to shore. Landing craft vehicle personnel LCVP, Higgins boats. Over 23,000 were built. These 36-foot boats carried 36 troops or a vehicle. General Eisenhower called them the boats that won the war. Next up is the support ships that enabled victory. Fleet oilers, the tankers that kept the fleet moving. Cimarron and Escambia classes could refuel ships at sea, allowing task forces to operate thousands of miles from bases for months. Ammunition ships, floating arsenals, carrying bombs, shells, torpedoes, and aviation fuel, these ships replenished task forces at sea, maintaining offensive operations. Repair ships, mobile shipyards. USS Vestal famously serviced damaged ships at Pearl Harbor while herself on fire. Repair ships allowed fleets to fix battle damage without returning to port. Hospital ships, marked with red crosses. USS Comfort and USS Hope evacuated wounded from battle zones. Japanese forces occasionally attacked them despite Geneva Convention protections. Finally, let's move to the production miracle nobody expected. In 1941, America had 350 major combat ships. By 1945, that number exceeded 6,000. Shipyards that built one ship at a time learned to build 10 simultaneously. Henry Kaiser's shipyards produced Liberty ships in 42 days. Escort carriers were produced at an unprecedented pace. Women entered shipyards by the hundreds of thousands. Rosie the Riveter wasn't propaganda, she was real. Men who'd never seen a ship learned welding, riveting, and assembly. Entire coastal cities transformed into shipbuilding centers. The industrial capacity America brought to bear was something no enemy could match. But production alone didn't win battles. It was the sailors who manned these ships. Young men barely out of high school found themselves operating complex machinery under enemy fire. They fought in freezing Atlantic storms hunting U-boats. They endured tropical heat in the Pacific. They watched friends die and kept fighting. Over 400,000 Americans died in World War II. 50,000 were Navy personnel. From the old battleships burning at Pearl Harbor to the mighty Iowa class that hosted surrender ceremonies, from tiny Higgins boats storming beaches to massive Essex carriers launching hundreds of aircraft, from destroyers sacrificing themselves at Samar to submarines stalking Japanese convoys, the U.S. Navy transformed from a peacetime force into history's most powerful naval armada. These weren't just ships. They were floating cities that projected American power across two oceans. They were weapons platforms that destroyed fascism. They were homes to millions of sailors who left everything familiar to fight an enemy most had never seen. And they were the reason Japan signed surrender documents aboard USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay. If this comprehensive journey through American naval power amazed you, hit that like button and tell us in the comments which ship you found most impressive.